When you come out of an emotionally abusive relationship, you have so many questions, and there's nothing more soul destroying than having conversations with a person you're no longer in contact with. These relationships are so hard to heal from. Perhaps you're questioning everything that happened, going over your relationship with a fine-tooth comb, wondering what you did wrong. Maybe you're dissecting every scenario, every conversation. Perhaps you're replaying different endings, replacing words and outcomes. Very possibly you're replaying the relationship and wondering if you'd done something differently, would you still have your partner? Or you might be wondering if you hadn't done something or said something. It hurts so much. And this is possibly why you're still stuck, not being able to move on, move forward, put it behind you. Some of this will be because of the gaslighting and some because of the bonding. These techniques were used to hook you in. I use the analogy of a fisherman. He casts out his line, or she, and they wait for the bites. When the fisherman feels a tug on the line, they don't land it straight away. They want to make sure the hook is fully embedded first. They let the fish believe that it can get away. So the love bombing stage is like the fisherman hooking with its bait the fish, and during this time you were tricked. Those messages you woke up to, they were to ensure your first thought was them. You believed you were the first thing they were thinking about. And perhaps you were right, but for a different reason. They do this to secure you as quickly as possible. And once they have done that, they don't really need to make much effort. And if they have a few potential partners that they're hooking, it makes life so much easier for them. They need you to become reliant on them as quickly as possible. And they use techniques to maneuver themselves into your life and gradually take it over. They gaslight you to make you believe you're going mad. You begin to question your reality and yourself, and then you turn off your intuition. Of course, your intuition wasn't wrong, but they needed you to believe it was. The cycle is the same: idealization, devaluation, discard. So if you picture a bicycle wheel and its spokes, emotionally abusive and toxic people have their own favourite tools. These are more refined with each victim. They have practiced on them to hook you up to the drug of choice, which is them. Bonding takes place as it does in every relationship, but these bonds are one-sided. You bonded to them, they didn't bond to you. And these bonds are like super glue, hard to remove. Have you ever got it stuck on your fingers? Acetone can help break the bond, but it still leaves the glue, a residue, and it takes time to pick that off. It's irritating, and you might even find yourself picking at it, taking the skin off as well. In relationships, oxytocin is the superglue. It's the bonding agent, the hormone that is released, creating trust in any relationship. But sadly, this bonding was one-sided. They put on a mask and played a role. You changed your life, and you believed them when they told you to ignore the red flags. You need to give yourself time to grieve. Your life was consumed by them. Not only have you lost your partner, you've lost the relationship and the future, the fake future you were creating together. And you might be feeling very, very lonely and isolated. Oxytocin is a double-edged sword. On one side, it's a love hormone that helps us bond with others, but on the other, it strengthens the emotions we experience in traumatic situations. It's like it imprints the memory of it. And a lot of my work over the last 10 years has been understanding the effect our childhood has on our lives as we grow up. Have you heard that saying, if you want to know who you're marrying, look at the mother or father? And the reason for this is we live as children in a theta state. It's a hypnotic state up until we're around about 7 or 8. So everything we believe or we see or we hear, we believe it is the truth to us. We have nothing to compare it to. So a parent coming home from work in a bad mood or irritated that might say something in a flash of anger, in a moment of anger, that child takes that on as a belief. The limiting beliefs that you were brought up with around money, think back to where they come from. Around self-esteem and self-worth, think back where they come from. The relationships we witness growing up show us what a relationship should be like. So a child that's witnessing an abusive relationship is going to accept that as reality. So it might be you were bullied at school and those memories and emotions are coming up from that event. It might be now that you find yourself working for a bullying boss and your anxiety levels are rising and you can't understand why. In social situations, if your experience is negative or stressful, oxytocin activates a part of the brain that intensifies that memory. Scientists have discovered that oxytocin strengthens important signaling molecules, which become activated for up to 6 hours after a negative social experience. And it causes enhanced fear and stimulating the brain's fear pathway, many of which pass through a region involved in emotional and stress responses. And this region has the largest or highest oxytocin levels in the brain and has high levels of oxytocin receptors. And this is across all species, from mice through to humans. And experiments have established that oxytocin is essential for strengthening the memory of negative social interactions. And it increases fear and anxiety in future stressful situations. This was a game and you didn't have the rules. They listened intently to every word. And this is why they seemed so familiar to you. You may have felt like they knew you so intimately. It may have felt as if you'd always known them. Perhaps they told you you were soulmates and that you had so much in common, but they were really just mirroring back your ideas and dreams. When they moved on to the devaluation stage, here they tested you to check that they've got the programming set correctly. And when it was, they knew you'd be more interested in protecting the relationship than you would be in protecting yourself. And you might have made comments about your intelligence, something they admired you for in the beginning, or your abilities in certain areas, and perhaps your hopes and dreams. And if you questioned this, you were either perhaps oversensitive or they were only joking. The attention that you received at the start of the relationship disappeared, and over time you began to accept any little crumb they threw your way. They used other techniques such as triangulation. They talked too much about their exes, or they talked about anyone who gave them attention. And this is used to draw you closer and fight for their attention. They triangulated you with anybody you saw as a threat. They love to turn people against each other. They keep them just far enough apart so they can't compare anything, but close enough to ensure you know they're a threat. Manufacturing situations to make you feel jealous so that you question their fidelity. And just like they've poisoned and brainwashed you, they've done that to everybody else in their life. The stories they made up about other people, they are now telling about you. This is about power and control. The cycle now starts, and round and round and round it goes. They then introduce the discard stage to make sure you're fully hooked. This is not to be confused with the final discard. They may disappear, not phone, not turn up when they're supposed to be, not be where they're supposed to be. And then they reappear with a gift or a compliment, giving you back that feeling of security and love you had at the beginning of the relationship, and reaffirming that they really do love you. They turned everything into a competition, and you end up fighting for their attention with fake and invisible people. We're all a bunch of chemicals. When this relationship ended, you might have had difficulty managing your emotions, or you might have experienced strong emotional reactions to situations, perhaps becoming irritable or having extreme mood swings. And the stress hormones stay in your body. Those oxytocin receptors were strengthening the memory and fear. You might experience intense cravings and wanting to get back to the love bombing stage at the beginning of the relationship. Perhaps this relationship was bringing up emotions from your childhood that you were unaware of, or from another relationship that you thought you'd recovered from, and you're now experiencing the same pain again. These are real fear responses. And when your partner screamed in your face or shouted so loudly you jumped, your fear responses are being triggered. You've experienced it before, you're reliving it. Like a drug user, you now need to go cold turkey. It might be painful, but I promise you, it will be worth it. You need to track down the original wound and heal that. And once you've healed that, the journey will be a lot quicker. And you never know, you might end up thanking them. Not personally, I hope. I'm sending you loads and loads of love.